Welcome back to Boy Band Break, where we encourage you to take a break from your day and join us for some boy band conversation. As always, my name is Diane.
I'm Chinzia.
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Lydia, a.k.a. Mama Lou.
Welcome to 2020.
Woo! We made it. We're still alive.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Hope
Although
you
we
guys-
pre-recorded this, we might be dead, but who knows?
God.
This is coming to you from beyond the grave.
grave.
It's not.
That's really
We'll
disturbing.
definitely be still alive.
Morbid, Diane.
Okay.
Come on.
On the
Positivity.
opposite of death, let's talk about birth. And January 9th, we are celebrating AJ from the Backstreet Boys. He'll be turning 42 years old.
Happy birthday, AJ.
Aji. If you're wondering why we always say that, it's because in French, A is A and J is G. So
I feel like we were on a cruise once, and there
were.
was some girls from France screaming at AJ, but calling him a G, and then we just thought it was kind of cute. I don't know. I think it's kind of cute. And we're Canadian, so French is part of our langue.
But
Is
we
that how you say
speak
language in
Quebecian
Francais?
French. No,
Yeah,
French.
Francais.
en français.
Becky in French, yep.
Québécois.
Becky in French.
Yes,
It's not Quebec.
It's totally different than
Québécois.
French.
It's Quebecois.
Québécois.
What did I say?
We should-
Who said
Quebecian.
Quebecian?
We can get our buddy Josh to come in. He is a French teacher, so if you,
You
ever
know what?
want a French lesson,
Maybe after the 98 Degrees concert, he can come
Busting
Yeah,
my
you can
balls
come
over
and,
here.
give us his review in French.
en français, s'il vous plaît. Oui, oui. Cordon bleu. Sorry.
Literally?
Let's go down.
I don't know.
Let's
Every
take a
time,
stomach.
literally every time we attempt to
French
speak
comes
French, cordon bleu comes out of my
Chinzia
mouth.
says cordon bleu, and then she'll always be like, I don't even like cordon bleu.
Yeah, and every time she says it, every damn time.
I'm a terrible Canadian.
See
All
how
right.
good friends we are. We
Anyways,
know
fromage
exactly what
orange.
Chinzy's gonna
Fromage
do.
orange.
Fromage orange.
That's how Lydia ordered cheddar cheese in Quebec.
Hey, I got my cheddar cheese.
literally translates to orange cheese. So really,
There you go.
she
You're
ain't
welcome.
wrong.
Saying it fun in a fun way.
Well, I didn't know how to say
Une
cheddar.
pleine baguette avec beurre et fromage orange. And then she would do this like arm gesture.
Why would she do it like
I
that?
don't know.
What
To,
is this?
to signify that a bagel is round,
Oh,
or
okay. But why is she doing it like so hard? Like
it was just.
It's
When we go to other countries, Lydia.
Other countries?
Okay, we haven't really been to any other. Oh, when Lydia went to Japan too, she was always the translator person because nobody else wants to attempt to
my
speak
God,
the language.
That's a big responsibility.
Well, okay, here, listen. I think you can get away with speaking any language as long as you have some enthusiasm. That's the truth.
Who
True.
told you that?
Me, my personal experience. So, anyways,
Lydia's Guide to Language. Speak enthusiastically.
Well, you're not in jail, so that's good.
there we go. See?
There you
Okay.
go.
Anyways, Dee.
So we're starting off 2020 hot, clearly.
And
it's
sexy.
the same as 2019, right?
All right.
Better.
No, let's get into a real topic. All right.
Because the other ones were not real topic at
Sorry, I
all.
was about to randomly blurt out a word. I was like, no,
A French word?
no.
Oh,
Continue on.
okay.
A swear word?
Stop.
We're
Okay.
moving on.
Now I want to know.
This one's going to be a little different, guys. Okay? So, I have she's being so weird, and I can't.
Say the word.
I was going to say circumcision, and I don't know why.
Whoa,
and then I was
whoa.
like, that's inappropriate. And then you guys
Syndrome over here.
keep talking. And I was
So because she said we're coming in hot, you thought...
You
I
thought
don't
of
actually know.
circumcision?
I literally don't know why that came into my head, but then I was like, "Oh, this is inappropriate." And then these two are
knife?
like, "Say the word." I was like, "I can't
You're
think
making
of
it so weird.
You're making this face like.
I have a
All right,
secret.
moving on to Diane.
I'm sorry that they're weird. Anyways,
Hang on with us.
it's true. Okay.
Vestibule is also a good word.
Will you stop?
Okay, this one's going to be a little different.
What am I gonna do?
I have a theory, and I'm hoping you guys, including people at home,
Still listening.
are still listening, and that you're going to help me prove this theory. Okay? So, you know how, like, when you write an essay, you, like, state your thesis, and then you, like, make all your proving points, and then you come up with a conclusion based on, well, the evidence that you collect?
Teacher, are you making us write an essay?
A
Hypothesis.
verbal essay.
Ah. Yes.
Oh, so excited for this. Woo!
We got this. All right.
Yeah, verbalist.
We're going
You
to
guys
stop
are just
talking.
making weird noises.
We've been recording a lot.
We've
Moving
been
on.
Jolly Ranchers.
All right.
Dude, come on. We've been
Okay.
here for like ever.
I have a theory that boy bands are misunderstood. Okay?
By who?
By the general public.
Correct.
Okay.
Not by their own fans, obviously,
Obviously.
but by the general public. And I feel that it is our duty, since
To
we
shake that
host
booty.
a boy band podcast, to prove that they are misunderstood and that you, as the general public, are wrong about them. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So I wrote down like 6 points that I feel like prove my theory. And, you know, I'm hoping you guys can tack on or just like elaborate on them. Maybe you can think of some of your own. I don't know. But
This is like a group assignment with one person who did all the work.
yeah. And
Thanks, dude.
I don't know. I want to try some different stuff.
Sure.
Also, if you guys have things that you would like to talk about on this podcast, I'm here to hear your ideas, okay? It's been 72 episodes. The brain can only come up with so much. All right,
But
so
you've done a great job, buddy.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
okay, so boy bands are misunderstood.
Dia.
I was gonna say
This is
Dia.
not helping our cause
Okay,
here with
sorry.
this point.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say Diane, but
Diana's
then it didn't come
sipping.
out right.
She's sipping her tea like.
I wish I had coffee. I need coffee. Okay. So why do I think boy bands are misunderstood? I feel like one preconceived notion of boy bands is that they can't actually sing, which is wrong. Right?
Correct.
Like, I feel like in general, people believe that. Oh, I just hit the mic. I feel like people believe that boy bands can't sing. Right?
Now,
Incorrect.
Right. Sorry. were you
I
saying
feel like
something?
you were going to make a point.
Yes.
Do you feel that the reason that is because New Kids on the Block used to lip sync, and because
they?
they
Did
did
they?
that?
I was thinking more like a Milli Vanilli.
I was gonna
type
say Milli
situation.
Vanilli, like hurt the people.
Or what I was
Feelings.
thinking is maybe
Well, we're
because
doing boy bands, right? So I
Yeah.
was thinking New Kids on the Block.
some of the earlier boy bands, not all the members sing, right? Like some of them just harmonize or whatnot, right? And they're all not always on the vocals. And I mean, it could be part of their. I didn't know New Kids used to lip sync.
I didn't know that either.
Yes, they used to do it back in the day.
So maybe that's why. But all I'm stating is like, I have not in my 34, almost 35 years of life come across a boy band where like no one in the band can sing. Like they always have at least 2 to 3 members that are very talented vocally.
CJ.
He's the singer.
What with the other two then?
Yeah, okay, but that's
Okay.
my point,
All right.
right?
Well, that's
Even
my
if,
point though.
if we're talking about 3 Deep,
Yeah.
right?
So
I can see why because of that, because Eddie Cibrian and Josh Morrow aren't really that great of singers.
But they were handsome, so they ran.
That
with both of you.
the misconception, because remember we're misunderstood, is that all boy bands can't sing, because if we're looking at this isolated boy band, these 2 guys can't sing and they just
Yeah.
rely on CJ to sing for them.
Right.
Right? But what I'm saying is there's always at least one guy that can sing, and it's not true
100%.
of all boy bands.
I feel like the main boy bands, so like your Backstreet Boys, your NSYNC, your O-Towns, they all have very good core singing voices.
Yeah.
And I feel like once people start diluting and being like, oh, I want to make more bands and make more money, they just kind of like, okay, you guys are some handsome men. I'm just going to throw you together and try to do
True.
it that way.
True.
Is that what we're kind of like?
Yeah.
And then
'cause
people
I think,
just assume that they don't sing.
yes, this is what I mean. I think they assume that like these moguls put together these like boy bands just by like, hey, you're handsome, come be in a band. It doesn't matter if you can't sing. Stemming back to, we talked about recently that Simpsons episode where they like make a boy band with the like kids
Yeah.
from the show. And the point is they can't sing, right? But they're just like, oh, you fit
They're all like
X
auto-tune,
criteria,
yeah.
so you can be in the boy band. And I think that's what people think is reality, but it's
Yeah,
not.
true.
And maybe like in the 80s and things like that, that might have been more true. Or also when TV shows, a lot of TV shows or award ceremonies, they'll do lip syncing on that because of the way that the audio is set up or whatever.
Well, and they're doing like hardcore dancing, and so when you're doing that, it's hard to sing and dance at the same. Like that's why
And-
they used to say that Britney never sang live because
Yeah.
because her dancing was so like intricate, but like we all know now that wasn't true. But
And also, like that one time when O-Town was it Miss America or Miss
I don't
Teen
remember.
Pageant? It was when they were still on the show. They were singing live, and they made a big thing that they wanted to sing live, but they were having issues with their feed. What's that thing called? The inner ear thing.
Yeah.
So they were totally off. So it's like a terrible performance. So when you see things like that, then people would assume that they can't sing. But we have seen O-Town in concert many, many times.
They can sing.
100% can sing and like harmonize amazingly, and they're very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that like people who are not into the boy band scene just think, oh, you're a bunch of pretty boys who can't sing. That's
Right.
pretty much it.
so this is misconception number 1. Okay,
I've never heard a bad boy band when we've
that's what I'm saying. I've never seen a boy band perform actually live and it sound bad.
Yeah, no, agreed.
like obviously like Brian's had voice issues and stuff.
Oh
with his-
yeah,
yeah.
there's
whatever,
been
but then you
isolated
can
moments.
Tell that they're singing live and that things are happening. So like,
Anyways, another misconception is that none of these boy bands have any musical talent. So not only can they not sing, but they also cannot play any instruments. Again, not true. In a traditional 5-piece boy band, yes, typically they don't play instruments. Doesn't mean they can't, and doesn't mean that there aren't boy bands that don't. Jonas Brothers do.
yeah, they Nick plays. Nick
The Monkeys didn't, though. Remember the Monkeys?
They
Oh,
didn't
really?
play
I thought
instruments.
They had instruments,
Well, I think only one of them could play an instrument.
and they just pretended to play
Yeah,
instruments.
yeah.
So I feel like with the traditional 5-member boy band thing, the main thing is the singing and the dancing and the choreography.
So they don't traditionally play instruments.
But
But it doesn't mean that the people cannot.
like if you've ever actually been to any shows, they generally will have a time where there's like a slower part of the song, and a guy will go and play the piano, or somebody will
Yeah.
play guitar, or
Nick does
Nick
drums,
does
doesn't he?
drums.
He does drums and Nick can
guitar.
play a lot of
He
things.
can play a lot of things. So just
Guitar.
because they specialize in just singing and dancing does not mean that they are not actually able to.
And some of
They would
wasn't
probably be one of
even-
the best people who would play instruments because they know how to read music because they've been reading music to sing. So they should be able
even
to.
like One Direction and stuff. Didn't they like
They did nothing.
they did nothing?
Niall was the only one who would
God.
would play guitar. Like,
Well,
it was-
but he's part of a boy band and he can play
and
guitar.
he can play guitar, but like, oh, terrible! Like they were so terrible in concert. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it was awful. It was awful.
But I'm trying to
like,
think of some
so
other boy
boring.
bands that like actually play instruments that we've seen. Like Jonas Brothers for sure.
Hanson does.
Hanson, yeah.
I think O-Town does. They've played like guitar and stuff. Jacob,
But we never seen it in concert.
not recently, no, because they do their own little like
Yeah.
dance thing.
I don't know.
Sync.
The main point though is that just because they don't doesn't mean they can't.
Exactly.
Like I don't know, if I don't know you and I don't see you walking, like if I just ever saw you, so I'd be like, oh, you can't walk. You know, like, I don't know. It's just,
Always see him sitting all the time.
yeah.
Where are his legs?
It's just, it's something silly, but it's like, it's a misconception. Like, don't assume that these people don't have any musical talent just because you're not physically seeing it.
And just
Right.
because somebody can play an instrument doesn't mean like, okay, so you're in a band and you play bass, but you're not singing. Do people look down upon you because you're not singing? Just because you're playing bass? Like that's not. You should be
Yeah.
able to have
Yeah,
certain
that's a good
talents,
point.
right?
That's a good point.
Are we? Are you painting the boy band as a whole or as individuals?
I'm painting it
getting
as a
confused.
whole more because I realize that there are, again, I'm not saying there are boy band individual members who cannot play instruments. Correct. And there are boy band individual members who do not have the strongest vocals. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, as a whole, you cannot paint all these boy bands with the same brush.
Bigotry brush.
That's not the saying. There's something else that is the saying for that.
paint
But
someone with a brush.
is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like they're going to be like, that's not the saying. The saying is like, you can't cut them all with the same sword or some shit.
A rock in the hand is two in the bush.
No. It's a bird in the hand.
Bird in the hand.
Is worth two in a bush.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
But anyways, I feel like you guys aren't not you're not saying anything.
I am not understanding this at all because, like,
I
there.
feel like we're saying things against boy bands.
Yeah, no, because like
More
okay,
than like
here's
four.
I'm
my
saying
confusion.
these
Oh,
things
these
are
are what
things
people, let's
that
say
people
boys
believe.
who don't listen to boy bands,
Okay.
who are into heavy metal or something.
Yeah.
Or the general public in general, who are not really big boy
This
band
is what they
fans.
believe about boy bands, but it's not true.
But like, it's not true for other reasons, more than the boy band themselves. It's untrue because a lot of people who dislike boy bands are insecure in their sexuality because, like, oh my god, if I like Backstreet Boys, they might think I'm gay, or like, like, oh, this lady who I really likes Nick Carter, and therefore I hate Nick Carter and I hate boy bands. Like,
So you just think they know all this information and they're making it up because they're insecure?
because of toxic masculinity. Yes.
I could see that.
But I
point.
don't think that's right.
No.
No.
I think that everyone just likes different styles of music, and if they don't like it or they don't want to admit it or it's not cool, I think that's one of the main things. It's not cool to like boy bands. Is
Well,
one
that
of your-
was one of my points too.
Okay.
One of the other points.
But
I mean,
has a good point. Like I've heard this before.
I was gonna get to that later, but yeah,
okay,
like
that's
one of my other misconceptions about boy bands is that like I feel like part of the reason people don't like them or like whatever is because they think no one else does. They're like, oh, no one likes them, so I don't like them either. It's like the whole Nickelback thing. Supposedly nobody likes Nickelback. Everyone thinks they're shit, but
yet
somehow
they've
they're
sold
selling out
millions.
concerts
Yes.
and selling millions of
Yes, I
albums.
don't
So
get
who the
it.
hell is buying this?
Right.
Like-
I think maybe it's more of a commentary that people don't like popular music because it makes them be like, oh, you're so lame that you like this popular music.
I'm an individual. I
like this obscure
indie
little
rock
band.
bands.
But
Which is fine. And then if that band ever becomes big, then do they turn their back on that
They
band? now
do
that they
because
become,
of this, like, oh, they
like,
become too
you
mainstream.
sold out, man. You're too
yeah,
mainstream.
well, there's definitely those people, and I feel like you guys come from Hamilton, where this is like the hipster capital of the world.
It is, yeah.
It used to be.
Well, it used to be like very blue collar.
At least, maybe not of the world, but at least of Canada. Well, maybe Vancouver. I don't know, but
We're different. We're like the Vancouvers are like the clean hipsters. We're like the lumberjack hipsters. We're like the ones who like wax our mustaches every day with like motor oil. You know what I'm saying? Like Hamilton people and Vancouver people are very different.
Where did this come from?
Okay.
I feel like we've
She's
gone
onto
off.
an
rails.
analogy.
I guess there's more hipsters now because the
trying her
Toronto
best
people
to
are moving
explain
in.
this.
anyways,
Thank
okay. Let
you.
me continue on my theory that you guys are hating. But anyways,
No, we're not hating.
We're
I'm
not
just,
hating. We're just
I'm
trying to understand
confused.
more.
I'm more
and
confused.
Get it.
All right.
trying to
My
get
next
it.
point is that they don't write their own music. And again,
That's not
these are
true.
people who just like whatever. Again, I'm not saying that boy bands don't write their own music.
I was gonna say,
I'm
like most of
saying-
the bangers don't come from the members themselves. Like that's the thing, right?
Well,
They're-
Chinzia's been saying though, like as we've been doing some of these album reviews, we have even been surprised how many boy band members have been involved in songs that you're like, damn, like they were involved in writing that song.
Yeah,
like,
but that's only been more recent times. I mean, in the Lou Pearlman era, all these were scripted properly by like songwriters, right? Like it was a machine that created these.
I
During
believe
the Millennium
Jay-Z
album.
wrote a song about a space cowboy.
Oh yeah, Space Cowboys ripping the nation.
Well, Brian wrote a lot of the songs on the Millennium album.
No.
Yeah, Larger Than Life, The
No.
One,
What?
Perfect Fan.
Are you sure he wrote them?
Yes.
I mean, not alone.
So here's the thing.
Well, he not alone, but he wrote
He was
them.
involved in the
And.
production process.
Word and.
He's
like-
first on the list.
Damn.
Alphabetically. But even though some people,
Oh.
I'm trying to say a good point. You are ruining it.
but like even non-boy bands have people write their music for them as well.
Yes.
So like the Celine Dion's of the world and the Whitney Houstons and like
Ever wrote a song?
I don't know, other big name artists have people write things for them. I guess maybe because maybe this is coming from like a rock band perspective, because most rock bands
I don't
will
even
generally
think
write
it's,
their own
it's-
things.
I don't even think it's because like you guys keep going back to like I'm thinking of people who are our age who just don't like that type of music, and I'm not even going based off that. I'm talking even like generationally speaking, like baby boomer generation just like assumes all these things about about like these 90s boy bands, or like maybe even boy bands that are coming out today. Like they just made these broad generalizations, and they were like, oh, these bands will never be successful because in our day all the bands, regardless of what music they liked, right, whether it was rock or whatever, pop or whatever, they were like, they grind it out and they like, you know, write all their own songs and blah blah blah, and like now these boy bands are just like manufactured and slapped together, and they don't have any talent, and they just auto-tune their voices and find 5 guys and slap them together. But it's not true.
Well, the thing about boomers is they make generalizations about everything. That's why there's the boomer millennial feud, because they don't even care to understand the other side, right? Like,
And that's why I'm here today, to explain it to them and to all the hipster haters.
Are we hipster haters?
are we
I'm very
hipster haters?
No!
You're pointing at me.
God.
You're pointing at me.
This is not going well.
I'm so confused.
We're defending against the hipster haters and against...
we are.
Wait, I'm confused. Okay.
It
So
doesn't sound like we are. I'm sorry.
Is it just them who don't understand? Do you understand?
I
what's
understand for
going
the
on?
most part.
You
Maybe
don't understand. Don't
maybe
lie.
you just need to say all of your points, and then we can go and say and address it. I just feel like when we're trying to respond to it, they're confused as to who they're supposed to be responding as.
I don't think we're defending them.
I don't think you are. I
this
think
a-
I
is
am.
I'm
this a
trying my
debate?
best to defend.
Oh, are we doing like debate style, like you two versus us?
No.
Oh,
We're not. It's not. It's not a debate.
What do
Oh.
you mean when you say we? You mean I?
Us?
like in this room today, or as a generation?
Okay, so
No.
Diana's saying that.
She didn't explain
Please-
it right
yes,
from the
please
bat. I'm
translate.
sorry. She didn't
Okay,
explain
so
it
what
right
she's
away.
Let
saying
Chinzia explain.
is that sometimes people who are not fans of boy bands, and
Yes.
this could be anyone, this could be old people,
Okay.
like these could be boomers, these could be rock people, these could be
Gen Z.
hip hop artists, things like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Other people, just regular people who even listen to traditional radio, might assume that all boy bands are all manufactured in a little factory. You're all handsome. You can't really sing. Let's auto tune you and go dance, and then you're it. That's it. And
Like,
they
auto-tune
and
didn't even exist till
unfortunately, and then they
recently.
get all mad that they have all this success and people know who they are when Joe's band doesn't make it anywhere. Like, right? So what she's trying to say is the preconceived notions about boy bands are not true.
I'm pointing
agree.
out what they are and then explaining how they're untrue.
So she's saying this is an example, and then we give examples of why this is untrue.
Okay. My apologies.
They still don't get it.
Okay.
My apologies.
Do you have any more points?
I do.
Okay.
I don't think Chinzia gets it either.
I think.
I think,
I think she
she's
does.
just
Are we-
explaining
are we
that
the
way.
two big brains
Maybe we
or-
are. I don't know.
I think she does because she just is my experience as a teacher. If someone is able to repeat back to me what I just explained to
know.
them, then they understand it.
I feel like maybe you guys are a little upset that there's not really
she's
a good way to respond to this.
Right.
I feel
Are
like
you guys bored by the topic? Is that what
Yes,
you're pretty much
I am.
saying?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not bored. I'm just like, as a debate standpoint, I like to understand.
But it's
all
not a
sides.
So
debate.
when I said about Brian writing some songs, that was bad. That I said
no,
No, that's
good.
proving
Okay.
the point.
No.
So
but,
why did you make it seem?
So
that I wasn't
Diane is
defending
saying
No,
you're-
because
But
okay,
Diane is writing a thesis, and theses are proved wrong by professors. I am a professor of life.
so here's what's happening that's going wrong. Lydia thinks she has to disprove my points. And Sophia thinks that I'm trying to say that boy bands are bad. That's what's happening over there.
So why?
Yes.
So when I said Brian wrote some of the songs, what was bad about that?
Nothing.
Okay.
Oh
I'm gonna stop talking.
Okay.
So
Because it
Diane
made
is
it
saying
seem
something
like
that
it was bad.
So Diane is saying a criticism that someone who does not like boy bands would say.
Yes.
And then we in turn
Yes.
are saying that cannot be true
Oh,
because
some clue. I was like, favorite part of clue.
X, Y, and
When
Z.
you have the card and you think you have the lead pipe, and then you tell them why.
that is
Right.
correct.
So what I'm telling you is people think that boy bands don't write their own music. You prove that that's untrue.
because Brian has written a bunch of millennium.
But it's true in some points. That's why it's.
But it's not true for everybody.
I know. I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, we're good. Okay.
So do you get it now?
I get it. Please continue. My apologies.
So maybe
Lydia's just going to be devil's advocate
Okay.
in the corner.
Okay. Okay.
That's what's going to continue to happen. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
You good?
We're good.
I think Sophia gets it now. I think.
I think I was getting it, but
Lydia's out to lunch.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Diane's going to say a few more points. We're going to say what that cannot be true because.
Okay.
And then maybe we'll just talk a little bit about how boy bands should not all be painted with a brush. I don't know.
Okay, sure. That's fine.
Yeah, we have to talk in the mic, buddy.
Sorry, my apologies. Continue.
Okay. I don't think you guys are going to come up with any of your own points, but that's fine. Maybe the people at home will come up with some and put them in the comments, please. Please, someone has to be with me here.
Okay.
There's so much shade over there, man. Okay,
Um,
go ahead.
I just feel like I'm struggling.
Yes.
I think
We've
it's
all been
because we're
struggling.
more used to talking about specific bands and experiences and things like that. And I feel like this concept is very confusing.
This is
To
a very
them.
big brain concept. Okay,
Okay.
continue.
Okay, continue. Another point that I think people think about boy bands but is not true is that people think that they all hate being in the band and and they hate the music that they're putting out because nobody could possibly like that kind of music, and they think that they're just like, oh, time to go to work,
Just doing this for the money.
tearing up my heart, fuck my life, I don't want to do this, but it's not true. And this circles back to my point about how they are producing and writing their own music, and they are, involved in the process. They're musically talented. They're putting work into their stage show, into their albums, into their music videos, and they enjoy it. Backstreet Boys wouldn't be doing this for 26 years, 27 years if they hated it.
True.
I feel like a very good example of this is AJ. So AJ is like the rocker persona. He has the tattoos. He has the nail polish. If you see him, you would think he would be in a rock band or something. But he is like one of the biggest boy band supporters there are. He's always super excited to say that he is in a boy band. Like he's like, I'm in a freaking boy band, whatever. And he's very into different types of music. And he has been able to explore the different styles of music, the Johnny No Name stuff, the country stuff. His more raunchy, weird stuff. But he is part of a band, and he appreciates the fact that he is part of a band. And I feel like...
I agree with that.
I disagree.
Okay.
Listen, One Direction broke up because they hated being a part of the band.
I was gonna say
true.
that,
They
but
hated
you're
being
the
part
one.
of the
Now-
boy
I was
band
gonna say that, but
machine.
you-
I'm going to
The
say...
Lou Pearlman, diddling, like all that stuff. That's not fun.
So here's what I'm going to
So
say
in the
about One
beginning,
Direction.
They liked it though.
So One Direction started off as individual singers, and they were on that show.
X Factor.
They were on X Factor. They all sucked individually and were getting kicked off the show or already got kicked off the show or something. So our Simon Cowell decided that he was going to put them together and make them a boy band. So they probably were like, I just want to be on this show. I want to see how this is going to go. And when they were together, they're like, oh, and then obviously that blew up and went like crazy and phenomenon and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they made a lot of money.
And they made a lot of money, but they probably didn't set out saying, man, I really wish I was in a boy band.
Yeah, because it requires a lot of teamwork and stuff like that.
Whereas some of the other boy bands, so like the Backstreet Boys and stuff, they knew what they were getting into. They auditioned to be part of this boy band. When Chris didn't get into that and he decided he wanted to put together NSYNC, he went around and like legitimately asked people, and they worked hard and they did all this stuff. O-Town applied to be on a TV show to be part of a boy band, to be in this thing. So I feel like in that regards, One Direction really didn't have much of a choice in that. They were kind of like, oh, okay, well, I guess I want to stay on this show. Let's see how it goes type thing.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll work better. But Zayn never wanted to be in a boy band ever. He never danced. He never did the other stuff. And I think they didn't dance because he didn't want to dance. Or he couldn't dance or whatever. So I feel like because that was a live show that just was happening week by week basis, they just kind of got swept up into that.
Well, and speaking of all this, okay, we recently mentioned that a lot of this stuff is coming out about Simon Cowell now.
Yeah.
So maybe the part of the reason that they hated it was because they were working for an asshole.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
He wasn't allowing them to have any creative control. He was like, I know everything. You're going to do this. You're going to do what I say. You're going
Yeah.
to whatever. And so they were just like, oh my God. Like, so maybe they would have, the concept of the boy band in general wasn't so bad for them because they still, some of them
are still really
still
good friends.
hang out and still talk. Like, those are my brothers. Harry Styles was on SNL talking about those are my brothers and all this stuff, right?
Or 3 of them.
Yeah, well, whatever. And then, and all this stuff. So I think they genuinely might have stayed together longer if they had a more creative control, because as we can see now, they do have musical talent. They can sing. They can produce their own music and write their own music. So they just weren't given enough creative control because Simon Cowell's like, no, this is a boy band. This is how you do a boy band. Da 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 da. You know, let me follow
formula.
creepy Lou Pearlman and like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Plus, again, even if you want to take 1D as an example, just because One Direction didn't like being in the band doesn't mean all boy bands hate being in a boy band.
True.
In
Right.
fact, I've said this before, that I feel like being in a boy band is actually more beneficial to them than being a solo artist.
You mean to tell me Trevor Pennick doesn't like being in
my
a
God,
boy band?
Trevor
Loves being in a boy band.
Like-
Loves it.
And this guy listens to hip hop music in his free time, watches Instagram story, but he loves being in a boy band.
For sure.
And like, no offense to like all the guys who are hating on boy bands, most boy band members are straight, so being surrounded by 20,000 women and stuff, I feel like they think that's a pretty good perk in their job. That's
I think so.
something that is a good thing for them. I don't know.
Yeah, making women hysterical. Ah, I know.
Come on, that's gotta be a good ego
Like,
boost
come
for
on.
anyone.
Come on. Yeah,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. Oh.
I was gonna say I'd like to be surrounded by an arena of screaming dudes, and I'm like, oh, actually, no, I wouldn't.
Just like, boo, get off the stage.
No, I just feel like as a woman, I don't know. It's
Intimidating. It's like, oh,
our lives up to this. I mean, I know things are changing, but our lives up to this point, like there was 20,000 men ogling me, I'd be like, I'm about to get raped.
yeah. Get the pepper spray.
Okay, well.
Yeah. That's why, like, when the sentence came out of my mouth, I was like, no, actually, no. I'd rather be in an arena of screaming girls.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Exactly. That they're all fake. It's not all fake. It's not everything that's happening is fake. Not everything is a show just put on by the man and for the media and for the whatever. It's not. You know what I mean? My case in point to this, go watch that Backstreet Boys documentary. Go watch
God, I
that
love
Jonas
them so
Brothers
much.
documentary, and you will see that it's not fake.
Yeah.
Go watch that Lou Pearlman documentary and see how NSYNC was grinding and trying to make it and the shit that they had to go through. It's not all a show. Like what you see in your very limited, like if you're only hearing the songs on the radio and seeing the mini performances on the award shows and, you know, whatever, that is like 1% of what's actually happening. You know what I mean?
To be devil's advocate, I don't even know why.
It's fine.
I don't know why. Like, you're usually devil's advocate. I don't know why big brain over here suddenly. Me. A lot of these, like, you know, documentaries and stuff like that too. Like, a lot of these are isolated incidences that happened that they had to craft into a cohesive story, into a 1 hour thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like not everything makes sense. So sometimes there could be a little bit of like Hollywood witchcraft in there, just like, and then this happened. Even if that didn't happen, it's
You mean like
we need
pulling
something.
questions out of a bowl?
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, exactly. Like,
Okay.
thank you. That's what I meant. Like the Jonas Brothers thing where they were pulling questions out of a bowl and they're like, I didn't think you'd pull that one. And you're just like, okay, like, come on.
Yes, some of it is manufactured for drama for a movie. Yes.
Yeah, like, because it has to make a linear story, start, beginning, end. You know, like the crescendo of the struggle of the protagonist.
Yes. And you could say that even in the Backstreet Boys documentary, like, let's go to Lou's house, like, that wasn't, they didn't organically were like walking down the street
No.
and like, you know what I mean?
That was planned. Like, you know, like they're. Reality television isn't all reality, right?
No.
There's storylines in there.
Right.
But what I'm
For it to make
saying
sense.
is a good chunk of that is true stories.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
A good chunk of that is telling you and showing you a little bit of behind the scenes,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So
It wasn't
you
completely
might get a perspective that you haven't seen before.
That's true. That's true.
You know?
So I feel like one of the other misconceptions is they think that this was just handed to them. They just waltzed in, and now suddenly they're on stage in front of thousands of people on the air
In Tokyo.
doing all this stuff. They don't realize the many years of hard work where they have like sweated it out in a warehouse and danced 14 hours a day and did vocal
Almost like a
training
boot
and
camp.
doing all this boot
Or,
camp and like
having
living on
people
ramen
financially
and stuff.
support you and stuff.
And have like, so there's like so much to get to that point that they didn't like. They thinks that like NSYNC just appeared out of nowhere, but they had 2 years of hard work before that.
And it's just
Backstreet
the
Boys-
journey is different, right? If you are an artist, in a lot of the ways that rock artists and rock bands become famous is by going out and playing these small clubs and getting gigs and carrying their own equipment and whatever, right? A lot of ways that these hip hop artists become famous is going out on the streets and rapping
selling
on
their,
the
like,
street car.
mixtapes
Yeah,
and
you know what I
stuff like
mean?
that.
So the journey is different, right? It's not
'Cause there's
everyone
not many bars you're going to go to, and there's going to be a 5-member boy band on stage.
dancing on stage
Yeah.
because that's just not what people went there
The
for.
journey is different, but the same.
But
the struggle is real.
There's many roads to the path to that they're all going on. And it doesn't. What I'm saying is just because everyone's not on the same one doesn't mean that the other ones aren't valid.
yeah. All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't also mean that that path isn't difficult.
Right.
You know what I mean? That path of auditioning for a creepy psycho sexual predator and
in a gorilla suit.
yeah, and grinding and working and like
Not
going to
grinding.
high schools and junior highs in Europe and all this stuff and sweating it out and having your money stolen. That path isn't any smoother than your path of playing bars or your path of selling mixtapes on the street corner. It's equally as bumpy. It's just
Yeah.
different,
For sure.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then, my last point was that people think nobody likes them. Like, I think it was even said to me recently. Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to Vegas to see the Backstreet Boys. And they were like, where are they even playing? And I'm like, oh, they're playing on the goddamn street corner. Like, no, they're playing Planet Hollywood. Oh, really? Yes. The same place
Why is
that
this shocking?
that friggin' J-Lo plays. Yes, the same place that Britney Spears plays. Yeah, like I don't know why in 2019 it's still not sinking in that people like boy bands. And I know that the hype is not the same as it was in 1999 and 2000 and 2001. It's not. It probably never will be again. But
But there is a resurgence.
there is a research, and you know
Yeah.
what? There's still people there, and go to their goddamn Instagram page and see the photos of the arenas and how many people are there. And this is not just the Backstreet Boys. This is the Jonas Brothers.
was
This
crazy.
is New Kids. This is so many of these boy bands. Yes, there are some that aren't there.
that
right?
are doing like
That
state
haven't-
fairs or smaller.
Yeah,
venues.
that haven't gotten there yet, or that have fallen from the top and are trying to work their way back up. Yes. But it doesn't mean that nobody likes them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? We're still out here. They're still popular. Believe me, I went to the shows and was like dying and fighting to get tickets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If anything, social media, you can see the numbers for yourself.
You know what I
Even
mean?
people
But people
who-
don't want to see it.
And they claim they don't like it, but then you start playing "I Want It That Way," and everyone is singing along, even if they don't like.
Yeah.
They claim they don't know the song. Like, don't you like?
Well, that's probably another. Oh, I don't know any boy band songs. Oh, but suddenly when you're drunk at 2 a.m. and it comes on in a bar, you know all the words.
Come on. Everyone knows I Want It That Way.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Agreed. A total
No one
agreement.
has any other points.
I was gonna say, are there any points?
I'm done.
Fans are
I'm
just
done with my points.
okay.
So
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt. Okay.
okay.
Shinzia, go ahead.
Maybe a point that boy band fans are all just like rabid teenage girls or whatever, or people
Or
who have no
losers.
lives or
Yeah.
whatever. No, but like so many of them are married and have children.
Work.
Most of us work. We need to pay for these tickets somehow. Like And there's a lot
No,
in like
but I mean, and not just work. Like a lot of people have legitimate careers,
Yeah.
like
Careers.
full lives.
teachers,
you know,
doctors, like
lawyers.
Like they're people too, and they need to have fun.
mhm.
Yeah.
So I just feel like people just envision boy band fans being the 14-year-old girls who are screaming at things.
Or even like for our age, they just picture like I know you're picturing like, oh, some overweight white girl who never leaves her house and like, you know, has no friends and no boyfriend and no husband. You know what I mean? And maybe that describes the people.
maybe that describes people sitting at this white.
I was gonna say maybe that describes people sitting in this room. Lydia has a husband.
But she was like, her face was like, oh my god, that's me! It was, oh my
No,
God,
she was laughing because it's me. That's why.
My eyes were like,
yeah, I was like, which one?
She's mocking me right now. Lydia.
We are not everyone.
Yeah.
we are the world.
I'm
Oh,
just
Lord.
saying, when you were at that Backstreet Boys concert, did every single person look like us?
No.
Exactly.
Oh.
Oh, Lydia.
So confused. But I agree with your point.
I don't even know this episode. I'm sorry, guys.
We
Okay.
win the thesis.
Here is a Jolly Rancher for a job well done. Which one do you like?
Not
Alrighty.
green apple. Get that away from
Okay,
me.
You
so
like that? Oh, you like this one? I know that one.
Are we making more points?
sure. Do you have any points you'd like to make?
No. Not at this time.
I'm done with my points. I'm sorry if this episode was a mess. I
No,
tried,
that's
guys.
fine. I got
tried.
it after.
I tried something
I
different.
got it.
Oh.
Lydia's still confused.
It's been 40 minutes and Lydia still doesn't understand what happened today. But
Okay,
you know what?
Essentially, the conclusion of the thesis is
Boy bands are misunderstood. Did I prove it or not?
Yes, you did. Thank you for that wonderfulness.
Lydia's
Yes.
confused. So Lydia says no, you did not.
Okay.
Do you think they're misunderstood or not?
Well, it depends on the person. It depends on the boy band.
You think some boy bands are misunderstood and some are not?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
I feel
fair.
like she's saying that just generally you can't, as people are painting all boy bands with this brush of you all suck or whatever, you also can't paint them all with a brush saying that you're all amazing and have all these extra.
Yes, because there
Fair,
are skeletons
fair.
in rooms. We know about, the LFO. We know about that interview. That was, he
She's
was
talking
not,
about Rich Cronin and
Thank you.
Howard Stern.
Cronin,
Yes.
yeah.
I don't know what that
and
has
how
to do with
it,
this.
It
but
wasn't like a bunch of rainbows either.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was rainbows. I'm saying they were misunderstood by the general public.
Which
Yes.
she's done a good job
Yes.
of
Yes.
doing that.
Lydia's like, if I talk more, then this episode will be longer. So if I just pretend that I understand what you're talking about, we can finish
It's
this.
just like nothing is okay. The point to your point. Great thesis, by the way. But I'm just trying to say nothing in this world is black and white. There's lots of gray.
correct.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
That's fair.
Oh, good. Okay.
Because, like, if we were to say that all rock bands have long, greasy hair,
and have sex with everybody.
No,
and
but I would never say that.
yes,
She's just saying some people.
Some people might.
Yeah.
because we don't understand them. So that's like these are
Yeah.
these are the assumptions we make based on.
Misunderstandings.
What we see.
But
in that
sometimes
bubble.
sometimes there's a bit of truth.
And that's fair. Some in the misunderstandings, there is sometimes grains of truth.
Thank you.
Chinzia,
Okay.
any last words?
no, I'm good.
All right. If
good.
you hated this, or you loved it, or you have anything to contribute to this, whatever happened today,
This is amazing.
leave
I
us a
really
comment,
appreciate
send us an email, follow us on social media.
At Boy Band Break, BOYBANDBREAK. And also that at gmail.com if you want. If you have any ideas for future episodes, if you have any boy bands you want us to talk about, any album reviews you want us to do, old or new,
If you have connections with boy bands,
if you are in a boy band and would like to be
If you
interviewed,
are part of Soul Decision, please message us because Lydia would like to speak with you.
If you have any like topless man shirt photos, you can send them our way. gmail.com.
No, please don't. Please don't. We're
no.
going to get like, oh, God.
No, I said man, topless men.
Yes,
no,
Yeah,
Josh
but-
no
Hot.
panoose.
Hot,
No
hot.
panoose.
Say
I
hot
was-
men.
Hot men only.
I was,
Okay.
I was going to say, there's a lot of men in this world that you would not want to see shirtless.
Okay.
With
Where's this
abs.
dumpster fire going?
All right. Anyways, thanks for taking a break with us, guys.
Until next time, hope you're still listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.